كنتم خير أمة أخرجت للناس تأمرون بالمعروف وتنهون عن المنكر وتؤمنون بالله ولو آمن أهل الكتاب لكان خيرا لهم منهم المؤمنون وأكثرهم الفاسقون.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على خاتم الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. We look into the book of Sirah today, and we look at one specific aspect of it. When a group of unbelievers came to the Prophet ﷺ, and they made an offer to him, a very strange offer. I cannot introduce it to you just like the Shaykh did, because once I talk about the specific words that he used, I have to explain to you what they are. But they came in with this offer to him. They said, we will not believe with you. We will not believe with you or believe in you until you give us certain characteristics that we will be priding ourselves among the Arabs. So we'll be proud and, we'll be dignified and we have that special status among the Arabs. They want to have special status among the Arabs. So they asked for three things. The first word they used is called لا نحشر, and I'll explain that. لا نحشر ولا نجبر. And then they said, whatever riba that belongs to us, any riba that belongs to us that we did before, then it belongs to us. I mean, nobody can deny that from us. But any riba that we owe to people, it has to be dismissed. See the contradiction here? The other thing, they asked that he alayhi salatu wasalam will allow 1 year for Allah al-Uzza, the idols that used to be worshipped at that time, to be worshipped 1 year, every other year. So they will be getting all the slaughtering, all the gifts and stuff like this. And also that he will make the valley that they live in a sacred valley, just like he made Mecca, because of the Kaaba in it, as a sacred place. Of course, Allah Azza wa Jalla replied to them in the Quran. And he replied to the Prophet ﷺ that they almost try to test you or trial you or make fitna in you. But if we go back to the offer that they offered the Prophet ﷺ, when they say we want certain characteristics so we'll be proud of ourselves among the Arabs, and the three conditions they put, La nuhshar, meaning we will not go out in jihad with you. So we will not go and fight with you. So they, that part of jihad, they don't have to. The second one, nuhshar, which is 1/10, which is the percentage of zakah that they have to pay out of agriculture. In the agriculture, of course, there's a certain limit. It's different than the 2.5% that you pay for your money. And of course, it all depends whether it has too many things. But in general, they want to get out of paying zakah. They don't want to pay the zakah. The third one, la najba. Al-jali means we do not prostrate or bow down to Allah Azza wa Jalla, which means they don't want to pray. They want special prayers like Salat al-Janaza, where they just stand up, 3 verses, and that's it. They do not bow to nobody or prostrate to nobody. So in other words, they don't want to pray. So 3 things they don't want. They don't want to do jihad, no zakah, and no prayers, no salah. Well, the Prophet, the Shaykh has explained it when he went through these 3 things. When he came to the riba, the Prophet ﷺ stood at the last sermon that he did, and he said that the blood of al-Jahiliyyah, so there will be no more revenge, and also the riba of al-Jahiliyyah. So anything that was before that moment, It's all been put out. Everything will void. Nobody could claim a riba or revenge on somebody because of any fighting that happened before that moment of Hajj al-Wada', which is the last ceremony or the last Hajj the Prophet ﷺ did. And the first riba that he puts is the riba of Al-Abbas, his uncle, Ibn Abd al-Muttalib. So he started with his family to show people that when the law applies, it applies to everybody, beginning with the family. Like the families don't get special status just because they're close to anyone in position. There is a statement. There is a statement that somebody narrated as it's a hadith, and they use into making a lot of fatwas nowadays, which says la riba between, there's no riba between a Muslim and non-Muslim. Meaning, this hadith really, what they're saying again, the same thing these people are saying. Well, when we are dealing with non-Muslims, it's okay for us to benefit from them. It's okay for us to charge them the riba, but it's not okay for them to charge us the riba. So if there's an increase where there's a benefit to us, we'll accept it. But if there's a benefit to the non-Muslim, no, it's not. This is, of course, injustice. Islam came with justice, where it's fair for both parties in any contract. So this really contradicts the basic things of justice, and it contradicts what Allah said in Surah Al-Mutaffifin about the inequality and the way people do when they are selling or buying. When it's to their benefit, they increase the scale and reduce it when it's to others. Inshallah, the Shaykh will discuss an ayah, and then we'll discuss the lessons that we can learn from it, inshallah. So what Allah Azza wa Jalla required in the Quran, He said, and you barely, or you came close to accept what they have offered. You came close. And here the word that's used in the Quran does not mean that he ﷺ was about to follow them, no, or accept what they offered. But they, in their trial, in their way of trying to convince him, ﷺ, they came close into to succeed in their effort. But so they came close to change what the Prophet ﷺ was, the things that he was revealed upon him. So he will change to something that Allah Azza wa Jalla did not allow. And then he used the word al-Idan, indicates that if you follow them, then they will be friends with you. And actually the word Khalil here is beyond a friend. It's someone who's a very close friend. Almost like a soulmate, or like just like Allah Azza wa Jal has chosen Ibrahim alayhi salam as a Khalil, and He chosen the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam as a Khalil, which means he is closer than just a friend, the word friend. Khalil is even closer than the status of a friend. Khalil. And then lam. Khalil. Inshallah, one of us will write it for you, inshallah. If you give it to me, he'll write it down for you in Arabic. So again, the ayah says that they were close to make you change the things that Allah Azza wa Jalla has revealed upon you. So you will have something different. And then if you were to follow them, they will be your closest friend. But it wasn't that we have given you steadfastness. We have supported you and made you steadfast on truth. You would have compromise. Thought about what they are trying to give you, or try to compromise a little bit on some of the issues that they were trying to give you in that deal. And you found that for the benefit of da'wah, of course. If you find that there's a lot of da'is, sometimes when there is a calamity on the Muslims, they try to look at the general benefit of the Muslims. And sometimes they do consider some of the offers, at least to think about it. Okay? That does not mean they accepted those offers. Or did the Prophet ﷺ accept any of their offers? But he probably thought about it, or thought, okay, what could have been, what if I accepted, and then what if could have happened? So Allah Azza wa Jalla said, if we did not give you the steadfastness, and you would have relied on them a little bit, not much, little bit, then if you would have done so, to really give up a little bit on that, then we would have given you double of life and double of death. And here, meaning the punishment of Allah Azza wa Jalla. And the life in this life will be double, and in the hereafter it will be double. If he would have followed or compromised on the principles that Allah Azza wa Jalla has revealed on the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And then he will find nobody to support him. You will find that the unbelievers, they continued from the first moment of Islam, from the first moment of the message of Islam came in. Try to come up with ideas and compromises and stuff like this. They told the Prophet ﷺ one time, we'll worship your Lord 1 year, you worship ours 1 year. It's a compromise. Or it's some kind of thing that Allah Azza wa Jalla revealed Surah Al-Kafirun. Well, you all know that I don't want to, I mean, for the sake of time, I don't want to go through all of it, translate all of it. And also, if you look at the time when they came to his uncle, Abi Talib, and they complained to him about the Prophet ﷺ, to the point where they said if he wants money, we'll make him the richest among us. If he wants prestige, we'll make him our leader. If he wants, so they try to give the Prophet ﷺ anything so he will leave this message. And then when Abu Talib talked to the Prophet ﷺ, you all know that his statement of his reply was, if they would have put the sun on my right hand and the moon on my left, I will not leave this message unless Allah Azza wa Jalla tell me so. So in here, we need to know that from the first moment of Islam, the unbelievers tried again and again and again to change, to make us think there should be a compromise. That the example of the Prophet ﷺ is to always stand on the truth, to stand fast on the truth. Once you know the truth, you should stand fast on it. So you will find even in our times, as you see, I mean, every minute, there's always trials, here and everywhere, that is different shape, different form, from one country to another, from one area to another. Where one time they come in and say, well, we need to change the education system. We need to change some of the ayat to withdraw because it hurts some of the feelings of some group, or this or that. It came to the point where people are putting the great stress on the word jihad. They're making it as a bad word. A lot of Muslims nowadays, they don't even want to mention that word jihad. They feel shy of it, as if, oh, something bad was mentioned. Jihad is the highest status of Islam. It's one of the greatest things in Islam. We should be proud of ourselves of it. It has rules, of course. It did not come like some people misinterpret nowadays, where they use it without the rules that Allah Azza wa Jalla has clearly made it clear in our religion. That we should not use those terms as something bad. We should be proud of ourselves. We need to understand them so we can argue about them in the right way. We should not leave any of the concepts of Islam and think that we are compromising with others. The first thing the Prophet ﷺ told us that we're going to leave and is to rule by a Sharia. Nowadays, every Muslim country is a secular country, it's not a Muslim country, because they are not ruling by the rules of Allah, they're ruling with different rules of nowadays, or most of them. I don't want to say every country. And the last thing that we will leave, which is Islam. So once that necklace, once that tie is broken, then it will be one knot after the other. And the first one is ruling by Sharia, by Allah's rules, by Allah's laws, and the last one will be as-Salah. So again, the message is we need to stand on all the principles of Islam and not compromise on them. Inshallah, after we gonna make the adhan, inshallah, and we still have 15 minutes, but we will go into the topic, the question really of today's subject, of the question that the brother asked last time about how do you deal with the people of the book. I mean, we have just an introduction right now. We need to know how we're going to deal with the people of the book and to invite them into Islam. Of course, I really don't want to go and repeat the question again, but it's all about how we deal with the people of the book. And the brothers mentioned several ayat, which we will discuss inshallah after the prayer. However, the Shaykh has talked about the way we deal with the people of the book. Allah Azza wa Jal has given them certain characteristics that's different from the unbelievers. For example, He allowed us to eat from their slaughtering and to marry the women. And subhanAllah, Allah made the Christians are closer and has more mercy in them than the Jews. However, Allah Azza wa Jal has ordered us to deal with them with al-birr, which is to do good, and with qist, which is fairness. And al-birr is just like the birr al-walidain. It's the same way you do to them, where you are doing, you deal with them with the best of manners and character. Unless they are fighting against us. So we do visit them when they get sick, we do deal with them. We should always mingle and find ourselves engaged with the people of the book. We should not be isolated. It is wrong to be isolated. Only a scared, coward person will be isolated himself. We should not be like this. We are the people of the truth. We should not isolate ourselves from the people of the book. We need to show them the truth. However, we will discuss how we can show that truth, because it's very important on the principles that we have to use into dealing with them. We all know that the kuffar and the munafiqeen, they always, through the history, they try not to mingle with the Muslims. They don't want to listen, and they try to change the facts against the Muslims. Even the hypocrites told the Prophet ﷺ, sit in your house, and for those who want to listen to you, they'll go to your house and listen. However, if you look at the Prophet ﷺ's life, which is the best example for us, look at the example that he did with his servant, the Jew. He had a Jewish servant in his house. Is it because of the lack of Muslims who could serve the Prophet ﷺ? No. He's his neighbor, and Allah Azza wa Jall's wish was for that, the goodness for that Jew to see the light of Islam, to see how the Prophet ﷺ lived his life in his house. And that's why when he was approaching death, and the Prophet ﷺ went to his house, he tried to tell him, to make the statement of Islam, to say La ilaha illallah wa Muhammad Rasulullah. And the boy, whose heart is attached to the Prophet ﷺ, but still trapped under the authority of his dad, he kept looking at his dad until his dad told him to obey Abu Qasim, and that's when he embraced that Islam, and he died on that statement of La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. And the Prophet ﷺ was so happy. Ibn Baz, bless his soul, when he was asked about donating blood to non-Muslims, and he said there's nothing that he saw in Islam that prevents a person from donating blood to non-Muslims, especially when there's catastrophe, calamity that hits everywhere, earthquakes, hurricane, this and that, or people in need in hospitals, not like nowadays we see in a lot of cases. The Muslims are the most merciful people. The practicing Muslims, the people who implement their religion, are the most merciful people on earth. You will not find more merciful people than them. However, Islam is a true case, but the lawyers who are taking this case are really fell short, either because of their lack of knowledge or lack of argument when they argue the case of Islam. So it's not Islam that is wrong, it is the lawyers who are taking that case of Islam.
Defend the case.
Or defending Islam. There is an issue that we need to avoid, which is to mingle the facts, the false with the truth. We need to know the facts. We need to know that these facts are facts by themselves, so we will not mingle them, or they cannot be distorted of anything that somebody is trying to bring to us. If you look at the first thing that was revealed in the Quran, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, the Lord of everybody, the Lord of all creations. And the last word, and in the last surah, Qul a'udhu bi'Rabbin nas, the Lord of all people. Did not specify Muslims or non-Muslims, He specified all His creations. He is the Lord of everybody. However, we need to know also that Allah Azza wa Jal, as a fact, said that indeed the deen, the religion, the true religion that Allah Azza wa Jal will accept is the deen and the religion of Islam. This should be a fact in every Muslim's mind. That the religion that Allah Azza wa Jal has accepted is the religion of Islam. And that's the deen, the religion that Allah Azza wa Jal has accepted, and whoever try to get something else besides Islam, it will not be accepted from them. A companion who's every time he heard the Prophet ﷺ say a statement or say something, try to look in the book of Allah, try to see if there's something that can support it. It's not like he doubted the Prophet ﷺ, but it was a hobby of his to always support the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ at the time of the Prophet ﷺ from the book and from the words of Allah Azza wa Jalla. So his iman will be stronger and he'll have a stronger faith. And when he heard the Prophet ﷺ say that there is no Jew or Christian who will hear about me and not accept and follow me, any Jew or Christian who will hear about me, hearing him mean he understands what the message of Islam is, not hear the word Islam somewhere on TV, no. Hears about me and understand what the message of Islam is, and do not accept Islam, he will be in the hellfire. So that's another fact. So what did the Sahabi look? Look in the Quran, he found in Surah Al-Ahzab that whoever and whomever disbelieve in it from Al-Ahzab, then the hellfire is his destination. And another hadith, the Prophet ﷺ said, when he saw Umar ibn al-Khattab looking into the Torah, the Old Testament, when he saw him holding one of the papers of the Old Testament and trying to look into it, and the Prophet ﷺ get angry, and he tried to get his attention to make him understand that even if Musa alayhi salam, the great prophet, one of the great prophets and the message of Allah that is mentioned several times in the Quran, that even if he was alive at the time of the Prophet, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he will follow the message of Islam. He will follow the message of Allah. He will follow the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Allah Azza wa Jalla has given us the Quran, which supersedes any book before it. That does not mean that it is not the word of Allah. We believe in the book of Allah, which is the Old Testament or the New Testament, but not on the way that they have distorted it. However, Allah Azza wa Jalla has given us the Quran, and it's more sufficient for us to get all our rulings, to live our lives with it, and to implement in our lives to have that successful life in this life and in the hereafter. However, when it comes to knowing all these facts, when it comes to dealing with non-Muslims, in particular the Jews and Christians, we have to find the best words, the rightest word that could come and touch their hearts, and not to be rude when we are discussing with them. For example, we don't tell them, oh, person from the hellfire, come over here. Or you don't hellfire, you have to come and sit down with me. You don't get people to love you if you are trying to already tell them or label them as the people of the hellfire. The Prophet ﷺ, when he sent a message to Herakl or the king of Egypt or Kisra and so on and so forth, he told them, believe in Islam or Aslam, Allah Azza wa Jal will give you double the reward. Why? Because they were the people of the book, especially Herakl and the king of Egypt, because they were cryptic at that time. But why is it they get double the reward? That's out of the mercy of Allah Azza wa Jal. That there is an important issue, and I'm going to ask the Shaykh if you'll let me just add this in here. There's one issue that we have to be careful about when we are dealing with non-Christians, non-Muslims, whether they're Christians or Jews. Yes, it's important to know the facts, but it's also we need to understand that their book is distorted. There are certain things in it that they added or they deleted for whatever reason. Okay? For you to go and try to go after these without the proper knowledge, you will find yourself going astray. Ahmed Didat, Allah bless his soul, he studied the Torah and the Injil more than their scholars, but he studied it in the proper way. For us to go and try to open the book, try to argue with them, you are opening a book that has already been distorted. That the facts are not there for you, like the Quran, the facts are not changed. So you have to be careful in that issue. The other issue, don't fall in their traps. Just like the trap that the Kuffar were trying to do in the example the Shaykh has given us in the beginning of this lecture, into not compromise in any of the principles of Islam. Inshallah, there's 3 points the Shaykh wants all of us to understand in the dialogue with non-believers. The first point, which is very important to know, our relationship with the peaceful people of the book, non-Muslims. There is contracts of peace contracts between us and them, where their blood, their honor, and their wealth is safe with us, just like our honor, our blood, and our money is safe with them. So we need to honor that contract that we have with them. The second point is in dealing with them, it's always been with justice, fairness, and with birth, which is the best of character, the best of manners, the best of way of dealing with people, where we are given more than what we are expected to get back. Okay? This is how we deal with them. When we are dealing with people as far as buying and selling, and this is actually 99% of the way we deal with people, that's where you should show your character, your Muslim character. Implementing the principles of Islam in that. So the first point, which is the contract, the safe contract that we have with the non-Muslims, and the other one is the way we deal with them. The third one is important for us to understand our belief ourselves. We cannot believe that there are so many ways that leads to Allah Azza wa Jalla. That you'll be safe whether you choose, and it's up to you to choose this, that, no. It's not up to us to say, oh, well, all these religions, yeah, they will lead to Allah Azza wa Jalla. Maybe Christianity in its form that was delivered by Isa alayhi salam, maybe, yes. But not in the way that they distorted the religion like they did nowadays. The people who followed Musa alayhi salam, at the time of Musa, yes, if they would follow everything that he said, then they would be following everything that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is saying. So there would be no difference. But they distorted that religion and they have changed it. So to say that we're going to have a cocktail of religions and we're going to have one book which includes the Quran and Torah and Injil, no, that's not going to work. The religion with Allah Azza wa Jalla is Islam. And he will not accept anything but Islam. The brother has interfered and he wanted to know, I say it with all respect. He wanted the Shaykh to explain that in more details, saying that all the prophets, they came in and they said, well, follow me and you will be saved. So is that, I mean, each one of them is a Muslim? Aren't they a Muslim? So the Christians who follow Isa alayhi salam, aren't they Muslims? So they don't have to change to the way of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam did. The Shaykh has replied that Islam has two meanings. The general meaning, which is to concede to Allah Azza wa Jalla, to abide by Him, to follow Him, to humble yourself to Him, to surrender to Him, and to follow His message. At the time of Ibrahim, his messenger was Ibrahim alayhi salam. Maybe he will have ruled in a different tribe at Ibrahim to a certain area. Each messenger, each prophet came to a certain people at a certain time. But the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam, he came to all humanities. The religion of Islam has not deleted the religion before it, but it's the current religion, and it supersedes all the other religions. The book of Al-Quran, you take the book of Quran and you do not take anything that was started before it. With all the respect that we have, that it is a book from Allah Azza wa Jal, but we don't believe that that one that they're holding nowadays is the same one that came in to humanity. Again, the point is, that's very important to understand, that each one of those prophets, each one of those messengers came to a certain people, tribe, and a certain time. Not for all humanity. The religion of Islam, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam has came to all humanity, and that's why it supersedes all the religions before it, and the Quran supersedes everything before it. The Shaykh agreed with Brother Nacer. And this is the topic that we're going to discuss, inshallah, on again later on. That how do we deliver this message? The way we need to choose there's a variety of ways into delivering the message of Islam to non-believers, whether they are Christians, Muslims, secular, or anything. What is the best approach? And when you say this approach, it might work for this group, a group does not work with others. But how do we decide this? This is what we, inshallah, are going to discuss in the next time in more details about the principles on doing it. I mean, you will find by each principle, you're going to have a variety of ways of doing it. You're going to find, when you talk to Christians, not all Christians are the same religion. Catholics are not different from Protestants, and so on and so on. So that's why it's a big topic. Inshallah, we will discuss later on. It's because of the lack of time.